and welcome back to AR-77. Today's video is going to be a bit of a revisit of this gun from my collection, these guns I should say from my collection, because I have two of them. As you've seen before if you've watched my videos, these are replica versions of the Springfield Armory XDM, and we've got both versions here. We've got the full size, the 4.5, and then we've got the compact there in the 3.8, both with the kind of nickel slides, stainless slides, what would you call it, silvery slides. Either way, two-tone guns basically, rather than the full black versions that you can get. So I should just point out, they're unloaded, and these are 4.5mm BB shooting CO2 blowback replica air guns. And these guns have fallen out of favour with me on a number of occasions in the past. There's a couple of things that have made me quite frustrated, especially when, I mean, combined, you're looking at a cost of about 300 quid for these guns. So, or I think that's what I would have spent on them. And that's before spare mags. I've got one spare mag, so I've got 3 mags across 2 guns. So yeah, there's been a couple of things that have annoyed me, a couple of things that have frustrated me, and yet I continue to bring them back out of the cupboard, the cabinet, and I continue to shoot them. And I want to explain, I guess, maybe this is a bit of just a bit of catharsis for myself. Maybe this is just something I need to get off my chest. I want to kind of go through the therapy of explaining to myself why I keep coming back to these guns, and why I don't exchange them or sell them or something like that. Why do they still manage to earn their place in my collection? So let's look at some of the things that have gone wrong in the past. And we'll also talk about the things I've done to overcome those hurdles or those obstacles. Things that you might watch, you might see this video and go, well, why is he doing that when he's forked out good money, on these things? Why is he finding workarounds for things or quick fixes instead of just taking it back to the shop? That's a question I can't even answer myself. Maybe I should have done. But anyway, we'll go through that. And let's start, I suppose, with the magazines. Now, like I said, I've got 2 mags here, and I've got a third. I've got a spare mag as well. The way I keep my guns, I keep them sort of locked away in like a cabinet, basically. And when I'm shooting, I just bring out the ones that I want. Now, if I'm doing a video about a load of guns, I'll bring a few out. But if it's just me on my own at home shooting for a bit of the day, I'll just get out the ones I want. And last time I got these out, I think it was just the full-size one that I had out. Last time I got this out, I grabbed the 2 magazines that I saw and took them outside with me and had a bit of a shoot. And it happened that one of them was leaking. One of the magazines had a bit of a leak, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But I think from what I've heard from other people, they're quite notorious for not being great magazines, which is a shame because, I mean, look at the finish on that. It's a full-size, nice heavy weight, nice attention to detail with your faux ammo counters there. It's a really nice magazine. You've got the base plate there as well, so you take that off to slide that off to access your sort of CO2. So it's a real shame, but what I'd noticed was it was leaking. I was tightening it, and I tightened it a bit more, and I could still hear kind of a really low level kind of hiss in the background, which you sometimes do get with these CO2 guns. Over time, sometimes if you use one particular brand of CO2, I tend to use these Umarex ones. But if you use one particular brand, the kind of the O-ring, the seal in the mag, can get used to the top shape of that canister, and then when you use a different canister, it can kind of leak. And I had always used a bit of Pelgun oil on the top of the cartridge. I've since followed advice from you guys and started using silicone oil. I digress. Anyway, it was leaking, and I thought, you know what, for the cost of these magazines, one of the reasons I got a second one. One of the reasons I got the compact was I thought, well, this is great. I'll have two very similar guns, and the magazines will be interchangeable. You know, these magazines that's essentially the same magazine. On the compact, it comes with these kind of shrouds here, and based on the size of your kind of back strap, you can use a different sized shroud to continue the line. Let me show you. Continue the lines of the grip. So that goes in there, and it kind of sits there like that, and it doesn't. Without the shroud, it would just look a bit weird. It would just look like that. Not the end of the world, but it does look more the finished article when you've got that on. I'm calling it a shroud. I don't know if it's actually called that or not. Yeah, so bearing that in mind, with that shroud there, I could take that magazine out of the compact, take that off, and it would fit perfectly well in the full size, as you can see. So you can see my logic. I'm thinking, right, if I just get another gun of the same sort, I've got two mags for each gun. And with the cost of the mag is around and about, I think, a quarter of the cost of the whole gun itself. So at the time, I must have been flush, and I was thinking, well, for the difference in price, I may as well get another gun. And I'm going to be getting another gun anyway, so I might as well get one. And you can see the logic anyway. So there you go. But it's a false economy if one of your mags is leaking. It was a quick fix. And a bit of a silly fix, because it's not actually fixed. What I noticed was the O-ring. I don't think I'll be able to let you see right into the magazine. Let me show you with this one. The O-ring, which, as you'll probably know, sits kind of right down in there. I haven't got the Allen key with me, so I can't take this piece off. But the O-ring sits right down in there. Sort of at this end, and it sits around where you pierce the CO2. For those of you who don't know, and the O-ring was loose. Basically, it had kind of flipped. Instead of being like that, it was kind of like that. It was a bit loose, so it wasn't creating a proper kind of seal. Basically, when the CO2 was in, so I noticed it, and I ended up getting I think used the inside of a pen just to sort of push it back into place a little bit, and then I popped one of these sort of used canisters, bulbs, I suppose, into the mag, and when it was in place, I carefully dropped that in and pushed it, and it kind of clipped down a bit and clipped back into place. And since then, I've had no problem with it. So it's a fix that I shouldn't have had to make in a way, but nevertheless, it's done now, and it works again. I probably should find a way of holding it there, I guess, although there might be problems with that. I don't know. Like I say, I'm an enthusiast. I'm not an expert, and maybe you can tell me, are the O-rings kind of fixed in there, or do they just kind of tend to sit there? Are they held in place? Anyway, so that's one of the flaws. That's one of the things. Let me tell you about a couple of the other things that have annoyed me about these guns. One is, and this is, well, is this me splitting hairs? No, I don't think it is. They're not very accurate. They're all right within, I want to say 4 or 5 meters. They're okay. Out beyond that, you can still hit cans and bottles and knock stuff over. But anything approaching any kind of target shooting, you're not going to want to use one of these. Then I have to say that this is only in my experience. I've got 2 of these. Obviously, one's got probably a slightly shorter barrel than the other, but neither of them are particularly accurate. And you might say, look, well, the BB guns anyway, they're not going to be very accurate. And you're right, you're absolutely right. So I don't tend to do target shooting with these. If I want to shoot at targets, I tend to take out one of my pellet blasters, if you will. But still, I've got other blowback. These are full blowback, these guns. I've got other blowback guns, other blowback replica BB shooters that are more accurate. So I don't, it's achievable, and yet not really with these. So that's another thing. They're not very accurate, and that can be a bit frustrating if you're enjoying your shooting. What was the other thing that I was going to say to you? Oh yeah. On the big boy here, on the 4.5, there's a pin here. This pin. and what I noticed was it was protruding a little bit, just a little bit at that side. And I don't know if that was due to one session of shooting or if it had always been like that and I'd just never noticed. I don't know, I suppose I should have noticed that before, or I would have noticed it if that was the case. So I think it's just worked its way out over time. Again, you might say, well, look, you're splitting hairs there, you're splitting hairs. And maybe that's the case, but I have to say, it hasn't happened on any other gun. And it's a shame because this area, you know, it's quite good with the mag release. It drops like that, but it's also if I can show you from this side, it's kind of a ambidextrous mag release, which I don't think I mentioned in the review of the gun, but that's a good point for those of you who are lefties, or just prefer using your finger. That's a completely ambidextrous mag release, which is a nice little touch. A lot of little touches, like the peg sticking out, showing you that you're cocked. I'll come back to that anyway. So that was another thing. So we've got the gas on the mag, and then we've got that peg working its way out, the accuracy. The big one, though, was I noticed when I was shooting, it was this one, but it has happened on both, but I noticed it more so on this one. As I was shooting, and you're getting that kind of blowback, and it's sort of pew, pew, pew. You're getting blowback each time. What I noticed was that this takedown lever was working its way out of the side of the gun. For those of you who don't know, again, if you want to take these guns down, I better just drop the mag. You take these guns down, you kind of line it up, see, like there, and that flips up, and then you can take the slide off like that. So this lever here just does that. It just allows you to take the slide off, and it usually sits in that position, but it's up like that to take it off. Let me put the slide back on for you here. Okay, and it tends to sort of drop down, and it's all done for you. But yeah, this was working its way out. So I found that when I was shooting, and it's not a big hardship, but I was having to keep a finger there. I was putting my thumb there. That's what I did. Put my thumb there, which isn't an unnatural place for a thumb to go if you're shooting a gun like this. Really, it's not an unnatural place. So it's not the end of the world. And yet I shouldn't have to do that, should I? I shouldn't have to hold the gun together while I'm shooting it. It's not like there's an actual explosion going on in here like in the real steel. It's just a bit of gas being released from a canister, and yet I was having to hold that in. So that was a bit of a bugbear as well. So a few different issues. Accuracy, bit of a leaky mag in one of them, that pin sort of popping out a little bit, the takedown lever sort of dragging itself out. And yet, not only do I have one of these guns, I have two. And every time I bring them out, I have to say, it is a genuine pleasure. I absolutely love these guns. I couldn't tell you which one I like most. In fact, looking at them now, it looks almost like a slightly different finish, doesn't it, on the full size there? It looks a bit more like a yellowy sort of a silver than the compact. Maybe it's just my eyes, maybe it's just the light. A big part of my love of these guns is that they look nothing like anything else in my collection. That doesn't look like a Glock, doesn't look like an M&P, doesn't look like a 1911, doesn't look like a CZ 75, you know, the duty that I've got, the is it PO7, another compact gun. It doesn't look like a Walther. It's got, as I've said before, it's got this really aggressive kind of pattern on the grip, like a tractor tire, I think I described it as previously, and these chevrons along the slide there, just begging for you to rack that slide. You've got lovely kind of etched Springfield Armory markings there in the top of the slide. Great markings in the slide here. Other side as well, Springfield Armory USA. Fantastic. No intrusive safety writing anywhere on this gun. It just looks, dare I say it just looks the business. Yeah, it looks the business. It's great. Lovely sights. You know, you've got two white dots at the back and fibre optic at the front. Really clear sight acquisition. You've got the bit that pops out there. You've got a really nice single action trigger as well. single action trigger there with your, you know, it's familiar to me because I like shooting 1911s as well. You've got that grip safety there. Little details again, like the ambidextrous mag release. You know, that's a nice touch that I don't see the benefit of. You've got a working trigger safety as well. This has got all of the bells and whistles, and let's be honest, you know, recessed barrel as well. Let's be honest, that silver finish really looks quite good, doesn't it? That silver and black, that two-tone. And you can field strip this gun. It's easy to field strip, as I just showed you, you know. You just take that slide off. This one, it's just a little bit longer, a nice feel to it, nice weight, comfortable in the hand. These come with, you know, 3 of these different back straps in different sizes. Again, on the compact, you've got sorry, that was off camera. You've got the kind of the 3 different shrouds as well that come with that magazine, and the magazines are interchangeable. Like I said, as you see, I cannot help myself from racking these guns, and you've got that lovely little lockout switch underneath, just like you get on the Glock 17s. Well, I think the whole Glock range, apart from the Glock 19. You've even got it on the 19X to lock the gun off completely. So it's safe for storage. The gun does everything. So yeah, it has its foibles, but I think the amount of character from this gun is just amazing. I love it. It looks aggressive. It looks the business. I suppose that's it's one of its greatest strengths, but also its biggest flaw is that it looks great, and then you rack the slide and you bring it out, you start shooting in your garden, and you go, oh, I'm not hitting anything with that over a certain distance, and that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? Like I said, in shorter distances, under shorter distances, perfectly fine. You're going to knock a hole into a can with that. You're going to knock something over with it. You'll enjoy shooting this gun. You'll certainly enjoy holding it and sort of crooning over it like I'm doing here. It's just a really lovely piece of metal and plastic to hold in your hand. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Mickey Rourke, the actor. It is rough around the edges. It is weathered. It's got flaws. It's been through some stuff. It's not a perfect thing. It's not your Brad Pitt, you know. But nevertheless, it's hard to ignore. Hard to ignore. And when you have one in your collection, or if you're fortunate enough like I am, have maybe 2 in your collection, it's really nice to have something that is just slightly different. You know, you know that I love 1911s. I love a Beretta. I love a Glock. I'm a big fan of SIGs. But this is the Springfield Armory XDM, and this is the only game in town, really, if you want a 4.5mm BB shooting replica of an XDM. This is where you're going to. Other than that, the closest thing I think you've probably got is something like the Umarex. It's like a really budget one. I think is it called like the XTG or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I'll flash it up on the screen because you'll know what I'm talking about if you're into your air guns. It's not a true replica, but it takes a lot of its style cues, I would say, from the Springfield Armory XDM. So apart from that, which isn't a replica, you've got these, and these are available, like I say, in the two-tone here or in black. I would call these a guilty pleasure of mine. I forgive them all sorts of stuff purely because I love the way they look, I love the way they feel, I love the way they behave in your hand, I love the blowback. Stripping them down is a pleasure as well. It's straightforward, it's easy. You've got the interchangeable mag, you know, working backstrap safety or grip safety, ambidextrous mag release. You've got the little peg sticking out the back to tell you that you're ready to roll. You've got your trigger safety, this lockout kind of switch underneath there. All this lovely kind of writing along the slide, no intrusive white writing, as I said before. Cut out ejection port while I'm at it. show you that. You can see right through there. You know, this isn't a review, but it is just a bit of a revisit and a reminder, like I said at the start, to myself why I really love these guns. If you are fortunate like me, and I recognise that it is a fortunate position to own a couple of these, and a couple more guns as well besides. If you are fortunate enough to have a few, you might go, do you know what, I don't need one of these in my collection because I've got other guns that are better. They're more accurate. They do just the same amount of stuff, just like the HK USP, which from what I've heard isn't without its problems from some people. I've heard about trigger problems with it. I haven't experienced that myself, I must say. But the 1911s, the KWC 1911s, the Taurus PT92, you know, the Glock 17, especially the Gen 4 BB version, you know, you can take all those guns down, you can strip them, and they do everything that the real steel does as well. So you might think, I don't need that. I don't need to spend over £100 on something that doesn't do everything how it should. If there's bits coming out of it and the pins are working their way out, I'm not happy with that. If the seals aren't good on all the magazines, I'm not happy with that. And you'd be well within your rights, and I wouldn't disagree with you. What I'm saying is, personally, I am able to overlook that because I absolutely love this particular gun. I love having it in my collection. Would I buy it again? Do you know what? I probably would, because I'm a mug, aren't I? I probably would buy it again. I'm not so fussed about it in the black, but if I hadn't got these, I probably would get one of them again. Yeah, even knowing what I know. So, what do you think? Are these worth having in your collection? If you only, and I keep going back to this, don't I, in videos, if you only had one gun, I wouldn't go for this. Unless your favourite gun is the Springfield Armory XDM, I wouldn't go for this. If the Springfield Armory XDM is your favourite gun, then yeah, you'll love having one of these just for the ownership sort of value in countries where you can't have the real thing. Or maybe as a training tool, if you do have the real thing, it'll help you with your holster drills and things like that. So yeah, if you only have one gun and it's this particular gun that you need in your possession, so be it. If you're just looking to get into the world of airgun replicas and you're not really fussed which one you get, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this as your only gun. If you've got a couple and you go, I want something else in the collection that does everything, all the bells and whistles, and it looks great, and it looks a bit different to everything else, yeah, I would recommend the Springfield Armory XDM. Leave your comments in the chat. Please like, subscribe, share this video, tell people about the channel. I know I keep having breaks here and there because, you know, life goes on and I don't always have something to talk about. But hopefully you stick with me, and I'll bring more content to you as and when I can. I would love it if I had a bottomless pit of money and I could just keep buying guns and showing them to you, but I don't receive any sponsorship. Nobody's paying me to make these videos. It's purely from an enthusiast's point of view. So, thanks for watching. I appreciate you sharing and spending your time watching the video today. Please do take care. I think I said like, subscribe, share. All the very best, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.